session outlining various National Nuclear Security Administration resources and programs and efforts that are focused on international safeguards, security, and proliferation resistance. We have 4 speakers this afternoon from the Department of Energy's National Nuclear Security Administration to talk about these various programs and efforts. So first, Jeff Chamberlin will provide an overview of Nuclear Nexus. And Jeff is the NNSA Associate Assistant Deputy Administrator for Material Management and Minimization. So welcome, Jeff.
As Karen said, I represent the National Nuclear Security Administration, and in particular our Office of Defense, Nuclear, and Nonproliferation. And my colleagues, Anagha, Iyengar, Katherine, Holt, Brian Waud, and myself are here today to talk to you about what our Office of Defense, Nuclear, and Nonproliferation, or DNN as we call ourselves, is doing to work with and support the advanced reactor industry, both currently and what we hope to do going forward in the future. And I'll lay out an overview of who we are in DNN and the new tool we've developed to facilitate closer engagement with the advanced reactor industry, which we call U.S. Nuclear Nexus. And then I'll turn it over to our experts in Anagha, Katherine, and Brian, who are our experts today in international nuclear safeguards, international nuclear security, and proliferation resistance in reactors, to talk about in more detail their efforts to engage with the industry and what they have going currently and what they'd like to do going forward. A couple key points up front that I'd really like to make sure to get across if you take away anything from this presentation. First of all, while NNSA has not traditionally engaged as much with the nuclear power industry, we are working in close coordination with our colleagues in the Department of Energy's Office of Nuclear Energy to support this industry in going forward. And so, while there's always been an inherent tension between the nuclear energy and nuclear nonproliferation communities in certain areas, we really want to stress to this community that NNSA and DNN strongly support the effort of the U.S. industry and government, and everybody that's working to support the U.S. advanced reactor industry getting off the ground. We want to see U.S. companies succeed in this area. It is to the benefit of our mission in nonproliferation and nuclear security in the long run to see U.S. companies succeed in the international marketplace, to see U.S. technologies deployed overseas. And our goal is to support industry in those efforts, with the hope that when it does come time to deploy technologies around the world and export U.S. technologies, that they will have the very high standards of safeguards and security incorporated into their designs. And we also recognize that the industry, all this comes, the economics is at the forefront of industry's thinking, as it should be, and we need to have good business cases and viable business cases to succeed. So we want to work with industry and to make sure that we're implementing key concepts and safeguards and security in a way that allows and supports the business cases of U.S. companies. So we want you to succeed, and we are here to work closely with industry to help do that. We've traditionally engaged across the programs on this slide, and I'm not going to read all the words on this slide. It's for reference for everybody, but we've traditionally engaged more with government and educational institutions on nuclear security and safeguards, the International Atomic Energy Agency, hospitals and medical facilities around the world that have radiological sources, and less with nuclear power reactors and that side of the nuclear industry. So we actually had at a presentation we gave last year, we had somebody come up to us at a coffee break and say, it's great you guys are here, because honestly, NNSA has always been kind of a mystery to us. And so we're on this speaking tour and trying to familiarize ourselves with industry better and industry in this whole world, including all the folks in this workshop, about who we are, to hopefully demystify NNSA. Later in this presentation, you're going to be hearing from as I mentioned, Anagha Iyengar, who's our expert in international nuclear safeguards. She's in the Office of Nonproliferation and Arms Control, which is on the far right side of this org chart. Then you'll be hearing from Katherine Holt in our Office of International Nuclear Security. Her office is on the far left column of this org chart. And then you'll be hearing from Brian Waud, who's going to talk about a new program we have to increase proliferation resistance in nuclear facilities. And Brian will talk a little more about what that means and what we're trying to do in those areas. As a whole, we support the Defense Nuclear Nonproliferation Office within the NNSA. What's our approach to demystifying NNSA and broadening and deepening our cooperation with industry? Our programs are already working with a number of companies in the advanced reactor industry to engage on, especially on safeguards and security, but also one of our offices has the regulatory responsibility for export controls of sensitive nuclear technology. So we also work closely with industry on 10 CFR Part 810 issues. So to broaden and deepen that cooperation, we've established what we call U.S. Nuclear Nexus, which is a web portal, and Allison Benedirion from Argonne National Laboratory, who manages the web portal and is developing it for us, working with us. She posted the link just now in the chat, and Nexus just went live a couple months ago, and what it is a web portal that we put together to essentially help facilitate that broadening and deepening of cooperation between the advanced reactor industry and also academia with NNSA and our programs that are working to support this industry. So Nexus does a number of things, and this is version 1 of Nexus, and we'll be continually evolving it as we go along based on the feedback we get. But it's first of all a portal for a resource of information on primarily international nuclear safeguards, international nuclear security, and export controls right now. So companies that may not be familiar with some of the concepts or requirements in these areas can come to the Nexus website and get basic information put together by the NNSA program offices on what these things are, we'd recommend you be thinking about them, and considerations you should be taking into account as you work through the development of your technology. In addition to international frameworks in these areas, especially in, for example, international nuclear safeguards, it has links to the statute and information on the 10 CFR Part 810 export control statute and the regulations and requirements there. Over time too, and now, and it's also a place you can come to contact through the portal to be linked up with the NNSA experts in areas you want to talk to. So you can come to the Nexus portal and say, for example, I am an A and I'm looking for B. And the portal will help you with human interaction through the portal to get to the right resources and right experts within NNSA to either answer questions you have or to start engaging on your particular technology. So again, we hope that helps you navigate through an organization that you may not be familiar with. There are a lot of people to call in the U.S. government, and we recognize that, and so we want to make it easier for you to go directly to the folks and the people within NNSA and our laboratory complex that can help answer questions you have on working with us in those areas. We encourage you to go visit the website. We welcome feedback on it, especially if you're from industry. The goal of this website is to be helpful to industry and to make it more helpful and easier for you to engage with us. So this is an experiment in progress. This is V1. We're going to continually be expanding it. We hope that when the time comes that NNSA programs have RFIs and can put solicitations out for proposals, that this will be a place you can go to get those. I know you heard from GAIN earlier today and from Christine King. We also can be linked through the GAIN website, and we're closely coordinated with GAIN so that the one DOE portal you have to go to DOE and access Office of Nuclear Energy programs, for example, you can also get to Nexus through that. So we hope you come visit it and check it out, and welcome you to contact us. And with that, I'm going to turn it over. I think next is Anagha Iyengar to talk a little bit more in detail about what we're doing to work with the advanced reactor industry on international nuclear safeguards.
And Anagha is the program manager for NNSA's Advanced Reactor International Safeguards Engagement Program.
ARISE, or the Advanced Reactor International Safeguards Engagement Program, is one of 4 within DNN, one of the 4 programs within DNN that works with the U.S. nuclear industry. And we specifically focus on international safeguards and safeguards by design. So the office I sit in is called the Office of International Nuclear Safeguards, and we are focused on supporting the IAEA and its safeguards implementation efforts. And we've been working in the safeguards by design space, looking at challenges posed by nuclear facilities for over a decade now. And we're here today to encourage U.S. industry to take advantage of all of the resources that our program has to offer. So the purpose of international safeguards is to allow the IAEA, which is an independent intergovernmental organization, to verify that nuclear material and technologies in a country are used only for peaceful purposes, and that material isn't being diverted to nuclear weapons. Safeguards focuses on state-sponsored diversion and misuse, not theft or sabotage. Theft and sabotage are the focus of nuclear security. So international safeguards are embedded in legally binding agreements. A majority of these agreements are called Comprehensive Safeguards Agreements, or CSAs, and these are concluded by the country with the IAEA, so non-nuclear weapon states that are party to the Nonproliferation Treaty, or the NPT. Those countries are shown in green on the map here on the bottom right, and those include the likely countries that vendors will be considering for international exports. So each of those non-nuclear weapon states that are party to the NPT are required to conclude a comprehensive safeguards agreement with the IAEA. And what that means is that if you're exporting a reactor to any of those countries, it's going to be under IAEA safeguards. And also reactor vendors from the US are subject to higher non-proliferation standards. So the way that our export control regulations are written, a CSA with the IAEA may also be considered as a condition for export. Another thing for vendors to remember is that NRC license requirements weren't necessarily designed to reflect all aspects of IAEA safeguards. As I mentioned, international safeguards is different from domestic considerations. So you've heard of domestic safeguards probably, but the adversary for domestic safeguards is insider or subnational threats, not the state itself. Due to the legal safeguards obligations that international customers are bound to, recipient countries may require vendors to make potentially expensive changes to the design to accommodate safeguards verification activities. So safeguards by design, or SBD, plays a huge role here in helping vendors prepare for and mitigate the need to make these design changes further down the road. Existing guidelines and regulations for SBD were developed for traditional reactor design, so basically large LWRs, and those may not be suitable to the newer advanced reactor designs or even MSRs. So the further a design is from a standard LWR, the more necessary it may become to develop new safeguards approaches. So safeguards by design is a process by which international considerations are integrated throughout the design process, from initial planning through design, construction, operation, and decommissioning. As I mentioned earlier, we have a long history of supporting the IAEA in this area, and we've been engaged with the nuclear community in this space for over a decade. Our SMEs developed some of the first reference documents and supported the agency in developing some of their guidance documents, which are also linked here on the slide. We also understand that most vendors don't have dedicated staff focused on this topic, so we recommend working with NNSA and our experts to receive support in thinking through these considerations. I just want to underscore that there's a huge benefit to vendors to considering international requirements at the same time that you're considering domestic MCNA approaches, because there are a lot of crosscuts and it'll save you time and money down the road. Understanding of safeguards equipment requirements allows the supporting infrastructure to be incorporated easier into the facility design. Here on this slide, I've just listed some examples of what SBD features to support verification activities could look like. They can be simple things like providing for uninterruptible power, brackets and illumination for cameras, space for IAEA equipment, ensuring that the facility layout allows for necessary inspection and verification activities while keeping inspectors safe. We spent some time thinking through what are the benefits for vendors to considering international safeguards. So, of course, you'd be supporting and observing legal requirements that exported materials and facilities are going to be safeguarded by the IAEA. By making these design changes and accommodating safeguards activities, you're also going to help reduce the safeguards burden on the IAEA and the recipient state, which in return may better position your designs in the global market. So adopting safeguards considerations will demonstrate corporate social responsibility on part of the company, which may be a global marketing advantage. You may avoid costly retrofits and redesigns down the road if safeguards are considered early. That's going to help reduce risk to your project. And by engaging with NNSA, industry will have access to experts that can offer a better understanding of export controls and international safeguards, legal requirements, and how these topics tie into one another. I tried to include a few points of relevance to this audience specifically. So MSRs comprise of diverse reactor designs with varying technical characteristics. Each facility variant may require different safeguards approaches. The IAEA has not applied safeguards to MSRs, and they haven't publicly issued a safeguards approach for future MSRs. So the diversity of these designs makes it difficult to make generalizations on safeguards approaches. The activity and temperature of in-process MSR fuel are typically high, and as a result, there's going to be limitations on human access to parts of an operating facility. And any safeguards monitoring and verification instrumentation needs to be designed for survivability in these harsh environments and reliability and maintainability despite these access constraints. In addition to all of that, the IAEA not having any experience in safeguarding MSRs, they may have to leverage the closest analog, which may be safeguards applications at reprocessing facilities. So extensive coordination with the IAEA and safeguards experts on facility design and planning can help mitigate some of these issues early in the design process. Incorporating and planning for process monitoring could play a role here to achieve timely, frequent measurements despite access constraints. You know, some of our this is not a comprehensive list by any means. By working with some of our experts at the labs, vendors will be able to get a solid understanding of what those specific issues may be and mitigating strategies may be for their specific designs. So the mission of the ARISE program is to engage with the U.S. advanced reactor community to educate stakeholders on IAEA safeguards, and we want to promote the timely incorporation of SBD in designs. Our specific objectives include working with industry to integrate these safeguards features into the design process and improve the safeguardability of future exports. We also work with the IAEA to prepare for evolving safeguards challenges through technical and policy initiatives. And finally, in close coordination with other USG programs, like the ones you'll hear after me, we provide expertise on safeguards requirements and how those link into security or proliferation resistance. Our program focus areas fall into three primary bins. So one, we conduct safeguards analyses where we identify challenges that are posed by specific reactor or fuel cycle concepts, and we collect data or case studies on regulatory incentives to help stakeholders understand the interfaces between domestic and international safeguards. Second piece of what ARISE does is, and this is a big one for us, is external engagement. As the focal point for the U.S. advanced reactor stakeholder community when it comes to international safeguards, we want to partner with industry through our national labs to conduct safeguardability assessments or safeguards by design analyses, which will help improve the marketability of your designs in return. And finally, we propose solutions in the form of concepts or design-specific approaches to the challenges identified in the other two bins. I also just want to highlight here again, Jeff made this point, we want to support the international marketability of US designs while not inhibiting other domestic initiatives. So that's the entire goal of this program. We want to integrate ourselves into your existing processes, timelines, and deadlines, et cetera. What an NNSA vendor partnership in the area of safeguards could look like. So whether you're a vendor with a preliminary or preconceptual reactor design, or if you're a vendor that has a final concept and is demonstration ready, there are ways you can benefit from working with us. So common themes across the two include awareness building, where we familiarize industry with IAEA safeguards measures, regulations, recipient country requirements. We also conduct technical analyses. So our lab we fund our national lab experts to enter into partnerships with industry to conduct safeguards analyses of your specific design. So these can be done under an NDA or CRADA. It really is up to the company. And finally, we want to help enable a dialogue between the vendor and the IAEA. We would really love it if you could visit us at the Nuclear Nexus page and the portal that Allison put the link into the chat for. We want to hear your thoughts on if you would like to work with NNSA in this space. We want to know what you'd like to understand about IAEA safeguards, like how does it build on domestic safeguards or work with security elements. And would you like to learn about safeguards, considerations, or approaches that would need to be developed for your concept? You can share your thoughts by contacting us through the Nexus portal or by reaching out to me directly. That's my email on the slide here. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
Thank you, Anagha. And our next speaker is Katherine Holt, who will discuss international nuclear security. And Katherine is the program director for the NNSA Office of International Nuclear Security.
Just to repeat a little bit of what Jeff Chamberlin said at the top, within NNSA's Defense Nuclear Nonproliferation Mission Area, I sit in NA21, or the Global Materials Security Group. And again, I'm representing the Office of International Nuclear Security, or INS, since we love acronyms. So the mission of GMS and INS is to prevent nuclear terrorism at its core, but it's also to be innovative and look to the future of nuclear security. As previously stated, we've taken a DNN-wide approach on advanced reactor nonproliferation and security considerations. And so we welcome the chance to support lab and industry partnerships to ensure the competitiveness of the advanced reactor industry. We feel INS resources can be brought to bear in supporting the secure international deployment of U.S. advanced reactors. While there may be some potential security challenges posed by advanced reactors, there are also opportunities. In light of the range of high-level policy drivers, including American leadership in nuclear technology, plus high nonproliferation standards, enabling the peaceful uses of civil nuclear power, and meeting climate change goals, we want to ensure security is an important piece of the future nuclear power development and deployment equation. Last year, INS stood up a program focused on advanced reactor security from an international deployment perspective. INS seeks to partner with U.S. nuclear energy industry developers and nuclear newcomer countries on security topics to increase the security of future U.S. exports, the orange box. And INS is developing security tools and analysis for advanced reactors and supporting security by design technical partnerships with U.S. developers. Second is to support responsible nuclear newcomer countries. And INS works bilaterally with over 60 partner countries to support strong nuclear security frameworks in future markets. And our third objective is to uphold the global nuclear security regime. And we do that by collaborating with the IAEA on developing technology inclusive guidance and newcomer infrastructure development. So why partner now with NNSA on international security? We believe that early adoption of security enables efficient design, long-term cost savings, and a more secure product and world. Integrated security and safety systems can make industry designs more competitive and cost-effective. It offers an advantage that will help future buyers meet international security obligations, especially in more unique threat environments and where there may be limited off-site response capabilities. And increased passive safety can open new opportunities for security. So we must analyze sabotage risks. How can we consider security is through security by design technical partnerships between industry and the national labs, where we can offer customized solutions throughout the design process at the system or facility levels. NNSA programs and national lab experts have extensive international and domestic expertise and resources for designing and assessing performance-based security systems and sabotage mitigation measures. So while there is no one set definition of security by design, we emphasize incorporating protection-related elements early, frequently, and continuously throughout the engineering process. And if security is considered earlier, it can align more with safety. Again, we feel our unique value here is that we can leverage extensive experience in enhancing security internationally to help advanced reactor developers understand other countries' needs and to ultimately operate the designs more securely. What we can offer now is performance-based security evaluation and design validation assistance to support cost-effective security systems in an evolving regulatory environment. This can include 4 areas. First, target identification. Industry partners must understand what key targets exist on their site in order to drive security system development. This is accomplished through dispersion modeling, and this is expertise housed at the DOE labs. And again, we believe that increased passive safety can open new opportunities for security, so we still have to analyze sabotage risks. Second, risk and cost-informed security system design, where advanced reactors have unique design challenges, not just for physical protection, but also insider threat mitigation and cybersecurity, to name a few. Security by design brings a cost-informed approach to designing your detection, delay, and response features. Third, integrated systems design and visualization. This is where we can help visualize integrated security, safety, safeguards, and cyber for design efficiencies. And integrated visualization helps ensure the design is right and properly accounts for those operational interfaces. Fourth, validation. Through the labs, we can evaluate and validate security systems for industry partners through subject matter expertise and unique tailored tools and modeling and simulation software capabilities. So in addition to specifically tailored technical partnerships on security by design, we also have some existing technical analysis and tools we can share right now. First, through experts at Sandia, Oak Ridge, and Idaho, we have developed a security economics tool to perform a cost-benefit analysis for security design features, which have the purpose of reducing operations and maintenance costs related to nuclear security. This tool is generic enough to be used on multiple advanced reactor or SMR designs and will be flexible enough to consider country or regional labor cost differences. Next, on advanced reactor target sets, we have created an approach by which US-based companies can identify and evaluate advanced reactor targets and vulnerabilities for a given protection strategy. This effort will also help identify gaps in modeling physical protection strategies by linking advanced reactor system response modeling with vulnerability assessment modeling and applying current security design methodologies. In addition, we've prepared an online virtual training tailored for domestic industry on Sandia's physical security design and evaluation process outline to assist in the understanding of the depot methodology used to define, design, and evaluate physical protection systems. It's a series of brief training videos. And finally, we can provide security analysis to validate systems, leveraging some of our modeling and simulation software tools, such as Path Trace and Scribe 3D, to help as industry works to demonstrate effective security against requirements. So to summarize, we have a variety of opportunities to partner in helping ensure the security of future US exports to the benefit of all stakeholders. We plan to offer more outreach and exchange opportunities, such as webinars via GAIN and Nexus, on security topics, and we'll be posting more resources to Nexus over the coming year. As discussed, we are seeking to develop technical cooperation with industry via non-disclosure agreements or CRADAs at the national labs. Again, this would be supporting lab experts and working with the domestic industry on a cost share basis. And we have ongoing DOE coordination mechanisms to maximize partnerships focused on domestic security, which we hope will inform system and facility design choices for future global deployment of these reactors. For our international guidance contributions, while the baseline principles will remain, we are starting interactions at the IEEA on non-light water reactor security considerations and its interfaces with safety and safeguards, as the agency looks to develop new or modified guidance for member states. And finally, our outreach to nuclear newcomers to develop secure nuclear infrastructure worldwide is increasing. This past month, we began security-focused engagement with 5 embarking countries in Southeast Asia and 4 in sub-Saharan Africa alone. So we will continue to support strong nuclear security frameworks in future markets that are embarking on or expanding their nuclear power programs. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take any questions. And here is contact information, so feel free to reach out via Nexus or directly to me.
Our next speaker is Brian Waud, who will be discussing NNSA efforts on proliferation resistance. And Brian is the team lead for the NNSA Reactor Conversion Program.
My name is Brian Waud. I'm the team lead for the Reactor Conversion Program and representing the Proliferation Resistance Optimization Program, which is fairly new and we are still developing it. The concept behind this comes from our history of converting research reactors around the world from highly enriched uranium fuel to low enriched uranium fuel. To date, we've converted 74 reactors. As we started looking at the world of the future and advanced reactor concepts and the use of high-assay LEU fuels, we started to realize that we might be able to utilize our history and expertise to apply to new design concepts to improve the proliferation resistance in these designs before they're built. And so we took a look and we feel as though there's a potential, a little niche for us in the center of this triangle, surrounded by safeguards, security, and safety, two of which you just heard from. And we want to seek to fill that niche in the design process. So I believe that qualifies us as a by design program, like safeguards by design, security by design. Our overarching goal is to limit the production or ability to extract weapons usable nuclear material, primarily focused on plutonium at the moment as we begin our explorations, but looking into other opportunities. I saw in the chat there were some discussions on U-233 coming out of thorium. We are not there yet in this program, but our ears are open and we are looking at options. We want to reduce the attractiveness of any and all applicable nuclear material. So from the fresh side to the used side, we also believe that there's an opportunity to, we use the term scale the facility to needs. So if you're doing very basic research, you may not need a massive, a huge research reactor with significant potential for material testing. So sit down with the operator and actually figure out what the goals of the facility are and what their plans are for the coming decade or several decades. And then we obviously want to work with all of the different players that are involved, from the regulator to the operator to the designer, including safeguards, the IAEA, and all of these other entities. The work that we've been doing has looked at research reactors because that's where our history is. We've broken it up into three primary groups of teams. One looks at the core and the internal workings. One is starting to look at the fuel and the fuel process, fabrication, precursor steps into the fuel that's used and the spent fuel, and figuring out, are there opportunities to fabricate or use a different fuel or fabricate it in a slightly different manner? Are there something that we can put into the fuel that makes it less attractive once it's been used in the reactor? As well as auxiliary services. A lot of research reactors are used for medical isotope production, which come with hot cells, extraction capabilities, and a lot of other capabilities that have very beneficial uses, but also have some potential concerning uses. And so you may not need 5 hot cells for a very small operation if you can get by with one that's designed a little bit more efficiently. We've developed some foundational capabilities and analytical skills, and we applied that to a very generic IAEA 10 megawatt reference core. Over 100 to 150 different core designs based on that one reference, we were able to come up with some solutions that reduced annual plutonium production by 15 to 20%, which may not be a lot if you're talking about a very small reactor and you're talking about small quantities, but if that scales up linearly, then that could end up being a fairly robust impact for larger research reactors or other types of reactors. Several different pathways for misuse were identified, variations on power level, core cycle length, where targets are put in, whether fuel elements are replaced with target material, and how that impacts the reactivity of the core overall. What we hope is the selling point for this is that we also were able to increase the reactor performance for the user. thermal flux in one trap by 50% increased and maintained in the second trap. The hope here is the plan, the goal is to maintain all of the capabilities while increasing proliferation resistance. To us, that comes across as a win-win, but we have to start applying this to other designs and other concepts. Optimized by how many fuel elements are in the same, can yield the same reactor power, fewer fuel elements, same power, lower fuel costs, reduce spent fuel, adding reflectors, changing geometries, different kinds of models and analysis. And so we believe that we have a lot of potential and opportunity to improve proliferation resistance. I recognize that this is a workshop specifically on molten salt reactors, and I do not have applicable data. We are concluding a 6-day workshop today with experts from across the DOE complex on advanced reactors and how to apply proliferation resistant concepts to advanced reactor types. And we have several experts on molten salt reactors participating in this workshop. And so we believe that some of those findings will be coming out in the coming days and weeks as they generate a report for us. And so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Thank you so much, Brian, and thank you to all of our speakers from this session. We do have just a couple of minutes here at the end. Several of the programs also fund research projects, and I think some of you have mentioned kind of general topics, but is there any other research or topics or priorities that any of you can highlight as far as ongoing work might be finishing up this last FY or coming into this new FY?
This is Anagha Iyengar from Arise. We're looking into safeguards challenges posed by designs with closest time to market. So those include microreactors, SMRs, and transportable reactors. So that's one focus area for FY22. We're also focusing a certain amount of effort looking into MSRs and safeguards challenges posed by MSR concepts. So, but we also have a big focus for us in FY22 is pursuing industry engagements. So we have funds set aside for lab industry collaboration. So that's where we would like to concentrate our efforts. And I think that's the same for our sister program in security, and Katherine can speak to that.
Katherine, do you have anything to add?
As Anagha mentioned, we're looking forward in 22 to offering some webinars. I mentioned some of our analysis done on security economics, looking to do a little bit more on target sets, just maybe providing a little bit more guidance too on how we see security by design along kind of the timeline of design phases and even licensing phases, to be more specific and offer those details. So those are a few things coming down the pike.
Jeff Litkowski asks in the chat if either of you or any of you can please comment about the ability to run a pure U-233 system. So will that be possible, or will one need to isotopically downblend with some percentage of U-238? Can either of you comment on that?
Doesn't seem like that would be a factor for safeguards.
I have no comment from security on this.
Thank you all very much for participating today. I'll pass it back over to David Holcomb.